All righty, guys. All Facts Media here. My name is Andrew Robinson. I'm joined by my twin brother, Aaron Robinson. Today on our Coach's Corner, we are joined by a special guest. We have Central Connecticut State Assistant Coach Mike Witcoskie on with us. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thank you guys very much. Excited to be here.
No doubt. We want to start this interview just by, talking about you, if you could talk to us about your journey into coaching, just what brought you to Central and just kind of how you came to get into coaching in general.
I mean, honestly, I grew up in a gym. My dad was a middle school, a little bit of high school basketball coach. So, when I go back home, I get the stories of, when I was little, just heaving that ball up as much as you could and stuff. So I've always loved the game. I grew up in Central Pennsylvania. We had really good high school teams. I'm a proud D3 guy. And I respect you guys. You guys have had some good D3 guys on here before. So, no bias. I like that. But I played at Susquehanna University in the middle of Pennsylvania. Had a great time. Learned the value of having a good big there because we had one good team and our big got hurt. And we weren't the same after that. Graduated, tried to do the business thing, just did sales and just there was no skin in the game, no passion with it. And I went back and coached for a year at Susquehanna for my coach, Frank Marcinic. He was great. Also learned the value of, it's not what you know, oftentimes it's who you know. One of the guys who graduated before I got there, stayed on and coached. He coached me was Tommy Dempsey, who's now the head coach at Binghamton. And as I made my rounds through the coaching, I got in touch with him and stayed in touch. And I went to Wilkes University and coached with Jerry Rickwood, who was a really good and really successful Division III coach. And then Tommy was fortunate enough to get the Rider job, and I called and begged him for the job for a long time. And fortunately enough to hire me. I spent 10 great years there, loved the place. But Tommy had moved on to Binghamton and Kevin Baggett got the job. And that's when I think we were playing against you guys, was when Kevin was the head coach. And, and we had hired Dontell Marshall as another assistant. And I gotten to know him and gotten to be really good friends with him. And then he was hired here at Central Connecticut State. And I jumped at the chance to join him. And been here for 4 years now.
Absolutely, man. So, obviously right now, switch gears a little bit, we're in unprecedented times, obviously with the coronavirus situation that's going on right now. And obviously it's affected everybody in different ways, in different ways, but also in the same way in the sense that we were all kind of on lockdown and, shut down. Obviously basketball standpoint, recruiting has been, shut down. Can't have anybody on campus. Spring live period has already been canceled. The summer one is up in the air. How have you guys been affected by this at Central Connecticut, man? And what have you guys been doing to kind of navigate this whole time period?
Well, I think the thing is to remember is everybody's been affected in the same way, but their circumstances are different, So, I'm affected differently than our head coach might be because I got 2 small kids. His kids are grown. You guys are single guys. Your life in quarantine is a whole lot different than mine with 2 small kids. So, it's very unique and you kind of have to be extremely flexible right now. We were fortunate enough that we kind of had a target on the 3 scholarships we wanted to use. We had just fit a guy in for an official visit kind of 1 or 2 weekends right before it all shut down. One guy made a decision without visiting. Another guy, we started recruiting him after this had kind of gone down. So, we just kind of stayed with it, create unique and flexible options and showing kids, your campus on a virtual tour, doing these Zoom type of calls with recruiting, which is unique, but you're kind of running your same, unofficial, official visit. Just you can't reach out and touch anybody, you kind of look at them through a screen, which the good part was it was all new and it was exciting at that point. I think now it's getting a little bit like, all right, like I'm kind of done with the Zoom calls and stuff, everybody's getting a little frustrated with it. And I think that the 21 class is going to be a tough one because, even now, like you'd go out in April and you'd watch, I mean, how many games? 12 a day. So you'd end up seeing like 30 games through a Friday night through Sunday. And you'd have all these evaluations. You'd come back and you'd feel like, hey, April, we got a good head start on this 21 class. And now it's literally getting film in and trying to watch a game or two on every kid. And it's different competition. Sometimes you'll watch a really competitive game. Sometimes you'll watch a game that's not so competitive, and you're trying to figure out, like, how do they compare? And so I think things will be slowed down with the 21 class. I think things will be really slowed down with the 22 class. But the one thing I did like about the 20 class was I thought guys made decisions based upon the things you kind of say you're going to make a decision on: the relationship, the opportunity to play. You know, it wasn't so much a, hey, come see our bells and whistles, which, you know, you guys went through the whole thing. You know, sometimes the bells and whistles can fool you. You know, and it's more about the relationships. It's who's treating you honestly and stuff like that. So I'm kind of hopeful for it. I think it's opened a different side of things for people, you know, but we're just going to have to keep going and take it day by day at this point.
I think you actually just brought up a very interesting point, like when you mentioned, you know, what's going on in the kids' thought process. And, you know, even for us here at All Facts, we've had a couple of kids that have come on to our platform to announce where they're committing to schools. And I started to notice that a lot of kids are actually trying to stay close to home during this time because, you know, when you can't visit, a lot of times kids are looking for that security to where, all right, well, if I can't see the campus, maybe it would be beneficial for me to, you know, stay closer to my family and where I know that I'm going to have support and everything like that. And like you mentioned, you know, kids are actually being able to forge genuine relationships with coaches and kind of make their decisions based off concrete facts as opposed to seeing like a shiny new campus with a practice league, that kind of things. So, like, for you, do you think that, you know, despite not being able to visit, do you think that this kind of has been something where, you know, kind of like a silver lining, you know, where kids are, you know, maybe some good can come out of this?
I mean, it's definitely. I mean, you know, there'll be a lot of good that comes out of this. There'll be a lot of innovations that come out of this and a lot of different things that'll be great. And it's no different than the real world than the basketball world. You know, some of these Zoom calls will stay. You know, maybe you do more Zoom than you do like a home visit. I don't know. Like, you know, that might be something with this whole thing kind of being out there. I'm sure there's some families, you know, you live with grandma, you don't want to invite just everybody in. The scary parts is who's a carrier, who's not, you know. I don't know if I was living in and had different age groups at home, if I'd want to bring everybody in. So there might be more of these Zoom calls type deal. You can certainly, you know, bang out a bunch of them in a day as opposed to you can only really get one home visit in a day. So I do think it'll be unique. It'll be really interesting. I think the staying at home is what's comfortable. You know, like if you're 2 hours away, like you've probably driven by it, you know, and so there's a familiarity and, you know, you're going to go back and especially in times like these, you're going to go back to what's familiar. But I don't know, man, this transfer market's going to blow up next year. So to make any predictions about that, I'd hesitate to do that.
Yep. Now, have you guys heard anything, you know, from your president, from your AD about, you know, the possibility of summer workouts or the possibility of, you know, what fall is going to look like? Obviously, we've seen some presidents like the one in Northeastern who's on CNN and LNA saying, you know, they want to open up business as usual, you know, with campuses, with students coming on campus. Obviously, with different, you know, safety measures in place. But any guys like the Ivy League, I think Harvard is saying that they're not going to have people, you know, on campus in the fall. You know, have you guys heard anything from your president about, you know, plans going forward at CCSU?
Yeah, our communication has been great from the top on down. You know, our president did a great job. We were one of the first ones to shut down. And, you know, before you didn't have any of this information, I remember, you know, we walked in, it was a normal Monday, and then we were all of a sudden not playing any away games and not doing any travel out of state. And that was Monday. And by Thursday, we were off campus and school was closed. So it was literally like 72 hours, and it was just shocking. It might have been 54. And, but they've been really good. Like, you know, we went to all online for summer school. You know, we're being in Connecticut, you know, we're along that 95 corridor, and the more you read about it, it kind of seems like mass transit is a problem with this. So I think we're going to be a little slow in our open. But I think they're moving forward. They put plans in place for how you open in the fall. when we return to the office, I don't know. That's kind of dependent on the virus and how good a job we do at kind of bringing the numbers down. But I think the goal is to start, a late summer opening with bringing some faculty staff back, and then hopefully you get to the point in the fall where you can bring everybody back. But everybody's they're making lots of different contingency plans, which is a good thing. So I think each and every school is going to have 2, 5, I don't know, 8 different ways in which you could do this based upon where your numbers are and the situation in the state. And the unique part is every state's different, and every state goes through this at a different time frame and is in a different way in which they're going to do this. So I think they're doing a decent job of communicating at that higher ed level as well, and putting some different options together.
So with that being said, like with looking forward to the future, how challenging has it been to kind of plan for next season and kind of plan on how you can get practices in or get workouts in and get guys on campus when you don't really know what the future is going to hold as far as when you're going to be allowed back on campus, when you're going to be allowed in the gym, how many people you're going to be able to have in the gym at one time. Like, how challenging has that been, kind of trying to get ready for next season with all that?
Well, the good part with basketball, well, it was the bad part that the season ended early, is our start is so far away. I mean, I think when you get back, you're going to have to really take it slow, because even just talking to our guys, some guys are working out and they've got a gym to go to. Some guys don't have a basketball to work out with right now. It's weird. I don't think you can come back with the same expectation that you had before, where your guys are coming back in shape and we can just hit the ground and go. Like, you're going to have to build up. You're really going to have to almost test them to see, like, hey, where is your wind right now? So I think it's going to be really really difficult to prepare. Now, the good part is if you do have classes in the fall, and you got September, October, the whole time to kind of go, and you'll use every one of your 8 hours in the fall and 20 hours in the, once you get going, to kind of build it up. But, don't expect things. March 12th, we were done. April 12th, everybody thought, we'll never go back to normal. And here we are. And, May 12th, everybody started to open back up again. So, what does June look like? What does July look like? I have no idea, and so contingency plans are hard to make right now.
Obviously, you being a father and also being a basketball coach, you have to balance, obviously, your desire, to get back on the ground running, but also your desire to, your responsibility to keep your players safe, keep those around you safe. So, just from your standpoint, how tough has it been to kind of balance that? Obviously, wanting to be with your guys and wanting to get back on the court and get stuff rolling, but also knowing the severity of the virus and knowing, the importance of keeping everybody safe.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The Groundhog Day aspect of this thing does get very frustrating, and I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and the 7-year-old was largely independent and was bordering on didn't want to do anything with mom and dad. And now both of them are as dependent as you can get. Like, that's the interesting part about this. Like, neither of the kids want to play by themselves any longer. There's just been parents around all the time. But yeah, that's your first thing. And anytime you're a parent, and God willing, you guys will see it eventually. Like, you just want to protect them. And the kids and our guys are no different. Like, you just want to protect them. You want to make sure they're safe. We had some international kids. That was a hard one to kind of balance, because you really couldn't get out of the country, nor do you want them to get out of the country, but you also have to have somewhere safe for them to go. So that was a really hard one. And you're just be safe. Like, basketball is kind of in the back of the mind right now. Like, it's also going to be really hard to kind of like really, really improve your game based upon your inability to have a hoop out. I mean, yeah, everybody should have a hoop, but they took the hoops off the public courts, so it's hard to blame that. Not everybody, has a hoop and a driveway. Not everybody has a driveway, you might have a Nerf hoop inside, and that's the best you could do right now. You're not getting a whole lot better right now with that. I think when things do get back, we have a guy who's coming in from Arizona, and they opened back up almost completely. And, he's saying basically restaurants are full go, everything. He's like, and I'm willing to venture out and get my workout in the gym, but he goes, that's about as far as I'm willing to go. And it's, I like that answer because, it's all going to come down to what's your acceptable risk at this point.
Yeah.
You're not going to ask anybody to take an exceptional risk. One of our guys has a grandmother at home who lives with him. So, his mom's got him on lockdown, and rightfully so. So he's not going to get any runs in during this. I guarantee it. I'm not going to blame him for it.
Yeah.
You actually touched on it a little bit earlier in the interview. So kind of switching gears a little bit. You mentioned that next year you think that the transfer portal is going to be booming based on that the choices that a lot of people were forced to make this year without visits and without things like that. There's also going to be a waiver that's going to be voted on pretty soon here on approving this one-time transfer eligibility for guys to be able to be eligible right away. As of right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be going into effect this year. It looks like it's probably going into effect next year if it does get passed. I mean, what do you think the impact that's going to have on transferring next year and kind of just in general for mid-major and low-major basketball?
I mean, that's why I do think it's going to be booming, is because that's our understanding is it's not going to go this year. There's some kind of, I don't know the right words, some machinations, like you got to figure out some working ways in which to enact it. But yeah, I think my worry is that, suddenly everybody's in a contract year. Like everybody's in a contract year. And, like some guys are going to handle that really well, but some guys aren't. And, I've also seen guys who, got it in their mind early, they were going to go. And, it's like the guys who are seniors and they're putting all the pressure on every shot to go in to be a pro. And that's a hard adjustment when you were just balling before, and some 18-year-olds aren't going to be able to handle that. Some 22-year-olds can't handle that. And then you watch basketball long enough, that some 25, 27-year-olds can't handle that. So I do worry that the product might be cheapened a little bit by that because everybody's kind of looking, and I think it's going to put a premium on making sure your guys understand, the ways people value people. When you look at it and you go watch somebody play, you're looking at, do they win? Do they help winning? Do they impact winning? And those things still are so, so important. So let's keep our feet, where they are, enjoy the moment, and I'm sure you guys watched The Last Dance last night and you heard what was Jordan's biggest thing, the one guy who wrote the book, and it was just his ability to stay in the moment, and so many other guys can venture off and they're thinking this and they're thinking that, and he was just always in the moment. And I think the more guys can do that, the better. And then when the time comes, the season ends and you want to go, then maybe that's the right thing for you. I also think that some guys from our level who've transferred up have not had the same level of success. When I was at Rider, we had Jason Thompson, who ended up being a lottery pick. And he was phenomenal. And he had an option to leave at different points. He stayed, and he became the big man on campus, for lack of a better term, and became the best player in the league. And a lot of times I think that's stuff people look at. Who's the best player in your league? And that guy's got to get looked at because, pros come from all levels now. So I also don't think you need to get to a certain level and maybe experience all the bells and whistles that come with it.
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned a good point. There's guys that leave, these lower levels and they transfer up and they don't have the same success. Then you have your guys that have to transfer from lower levels to, higher levels. You have these, small fish in a big pond versus big fish in a small pond. I guess, how do you think guys that, might want to transfer from the lower level to the higher level, and find ways to be successful? Or do you think it's just a matter of, enjoying being where you're at and trying to, make the best of your situation, where you are?
I mean, obviously, make the best situation, but obviously if it's a situation you can't live with, then you do got to go and you got to maybe you gotta leave. But like, I just think the ability to fight through, you read the books like Grit, and that ability to just kind of fight through your situation that you're at, make the best of your situation, go from a guy who's averaging 2 points to, the next year you're having 8, and then all of a sudden you're averaging 12, and now you're the best player on the team. And there's no better position to be on any team than the best player on the team, and your ability to become that and get through some things. And now all of a sudden you've got the relationship with the coaches because you've been there through 4 years. You've got the trust. I think that, if you guys remember back to your freshman years, like freshman year is hard because of all the adjustments. And, I'm too busy in my own year to know exactly how you guys did with your grad years, but like there's an adjustment there. You got all new teammates, you got to figure them out. And like, sometimes you just need to change the scenery. I get that, but like at the same time, like if you're in a good spot and you like it, just leaving to leave is not the best things that some guys have done.
I mean, what was that like, coaching Jason Thompson and, being in the MAC and, coaching a guy that ended up being an NBA lottery pick? Like, what was it like just having him in the gym every day and just like seeing that happen and, seeing a guy, have his dream come to fruition from a mid-major school, which doesn't happen, very often, obviously.
It was really fun. It was really enjoyable. The one thing I'll say is like he went 100% every time he was out there. He played for many years, got a couple of contract extensions in the pros. I think he was in there. I think he was with Sacramento and in the NBA for like 9 years. And the one thing was he's just going to play his tail off. And he unfortunately didn't play very good teams when he was at Sacramento. But like, if you looked at it, like he just kept playing. And I remember, Coach Dempsey would have to cut practice short because you try to put him on the sideline for a play or two and he'd check right back in. I remember many guys kind of getting exposed because they didn't play as hard as he did. And it was just impressive. And then, he just stayed after he shot. He got his extra shots in, got his extra work in. And he's also one of those kids, when you go to the weight room and you watch a guy and the strength coach turns around and he still does 10, does 12 because he was asked to do 10, and then you watch the weight coach turn around and look at Jason again, and the guy, now he took his eye off, does 7. And you're like, there you go. It's small. It's a little prices to pay, but it was all that stuff. And he lived out his dreams. And, it's just, you try to encourage guys and explain some things to guys. And it's just like, if you're just going to do what's right for the moment or what you feel like doing for the moment, sometimes you don't get the right to live out your dreams. And he just did it. I mean, it was amazing, played his tail off every game. We used him. We didn't even know how much we were going to miss him the next year because he was the guy who helped us break the press. He got double-digit rebounds. So now all of a sudden you're back to coaching box outs. You weren't coaching him before because he just went up and got them. So it was, you realize how much a good player really covers up for a lot of other ails of your team.
Now, obviously, you've coached in the MAC, you've coached in the NEC, doubling back a little bit to the transfer question, how do you think this is going to affect guys, because a guy like a Jason Thompson likely could have transferred higher, or left and still been a lottery pick or, what have you, or maybe he transferred higher and not been a lottery pick. But, how do you think that this rule is going to affect, the lower level schools that essentially your best players, are going to be getting recruited by higher level schools each and every year, and you might have to, retool and reload each season?
It's going to put a lot of stress on us. You're going to have to continue to really build relationships, which we've tried to do is just build the relationships, the open door policy, come in, talk, communicate. I think you're going to have a ton of one-on-one conversations in order to just kind of keep communicating to guys and make sure everybody understands where they sit in your program, that they have a value. I do wonder, like someone raised the question, do you need 13 scholarships? Because it's going to be hard to keep 13 guys happy when none of them are sitting. So there's just a lot of things you're going to have to work through that I don't have the answers to be dead honest, except for that you got to love your guys up. You got to coach them. You got to hold them accountable. But you got to speak the truth to them. And then hopefully what you can recruit is guys who value the truth. I think finding guys who value the truth is going to be key as well. Because the guys who just want you to blow smoke, that's going to be really tough to keep them, because they're going to get blown smoke from every angle.
Over the years, like, what do you think has been some of the most rewarding moments of your coaching career, like for you?
Well, I mean, the number one is just watching some guys who might not have had the opportunity to graduate, and watching them move on, having them come back to games and seeing them, what are you doing now? And then telling you about their success in life. And all of a sudden they bring back the wife, or they bring back, their son or their daughter. And those things, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is just watching young men kind of grow up and become men and be able to handle themselves on their own. Had a ton of fun in terms of different environments, winning, taking a mid-major team and going to a high major and winning those games, is a lot of fun. Shaking guys' hands. I mean, we went on a trip, and I think we went to Cancun one time, and we were playing Kentucky and Virginia. My dad jumped on the trip. He was like, I'm going. So we flew next to each other, stayed in the same room, and just, you're playing against Kentucky and you're watching DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall. And it's just like, these are experiences that, when you're 13 and you're like, there's Rupp Arena, it's just like, it's almost foreign to you. It's like, I'm going to play there someday. I'm going to play there someday, Then you kind of grow up and realize your athleticism might be holding you back a little bit, but your ability to get there in a different way is really exciting. And all of a sudden, you're shaking the hand and talking to the guys that you see on TV. And I got, my wife's brothers are huge basketball fans. And then, all of a sudden you're telling them about your conversation with this guy or that guy, and they're just wide-eyed. And you're like, I kind of took that as a normal conversation, but just being inside the ropes is kind of the neatest thing, I think, in just pure basketball terms.
That was my last question for you. I don't know if there's anything else that Andrew wanted to ask, that I wanted to ask you.
That was it for me, Coach. We definitely thank you for coming on today with us. Definitely appreciate it. I know you did a lot of things that you guys could be doing during this coronavirus time, so we definitely appreciate it. And, on behalf of me and my brother here at All Facts, we're definitely going to be rooting for you guys over at Central.
I appreciate that. No, thanks for having me on, guys. I've enjoyed watching your videos. I've been eating up The Last Dance, so I enjoyed the one with Burrell and Dickie Simpkins. That was good. And told some good stories. I've been trying to get all those background stories, and just keep doing a great job and giving people voices and letting them speak themselves. I think it's a great job.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Definitely appreciate it.
All right. Take care, fellas.
Take care. Stay safe.
You too.
All right.